Hey, good day, my friends, and welcome to Unity Through Past Traumas. What you can't do alone, we can do together by sharing our life stories. On today's episode, I have on a good friend that I've been following for a long time on Facebook, Daysha Hanks, who resides in Oregon. Welcome, Daysha.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm excited to be here.
Yes, me too. Big time. So I'll share a little bit about your background before we start. Daysha is a 23-year-old entrepreneur who struggled to find her path in the online space. She lived in a house with no running water and was ready to give up on life. Now today, she's found her self-worth and vision for life. Her mission now is to help inspire and help others all around the world to find their vision and make their dreams come true. Daysha has been hitting the online media world hard with her live Facebook feed. Another daily dose with Daysha.
Yes. Yes. I love it. Yeah, being in the online space, it was kind of hard, kind of rough at first, but we just push on, we go through the struggles, and we just keep pushing forward. So I'm excited to get this out there.
And what made you keep pushing forward?
I think the biggest thing was just kind of finding a why, like when you get in those really hard times, like it can be hard, like you just want to give up. But when I was in my room at the time, like I was just bawling my eyes out when I was in this house with no running water because I just felt so depressed and frustrated with myself. And thinking about my wife and my family, like that's what kind of set it aside. Like if I went, like what's my wife going to do? Like what's my family going to think? Like what are they going to do? Like I'm helping them right now. Like what are they going to do if I leave? So that's kind of what kind of stuck it for me, was just finding my why.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So how did you come up with what made you with your daily dose? I mean, this is how I met you. How I'd say thousands of others have met you as well. As we go through Facebook, we add people and we want to inspire, and we just let people come on. And with you, it brings a smile to my face with you because I absolutely love you with what you do. But it was at first hearing you, or it was seeing your feed go by and you're just kind of scrolling. And then it's that one day, it's like, hey, I'm just going to click on it, and listen, see what's up. So when I did that, it was absolutely astonishing and amazing at the knowledge and wisdom, goosebumps all over, that you have this old soul with so much knowledge at such a young age that you're giving back to people. And I was like, wow, like, how does this girl, I'm like, she must be 50 looking really good on Botox or something to have this knowledge, So as you got into wanting to give back and do your daily dose, your live feed and giving back, what started that for you to even start up?
So when I was living in the house with no running water, like that was my breaking point. Like that was like the lowest point in my life. I had decided, I was working at a job, had quit my job because they were treating me really badly, and decided I was going to make one more attempt to try to work online because I had struggled for 4 years before that. And I had met this person online who was my mentor, Len, my very first mentor. And at the time, I was just focused on money. Like I was just like, I need to make money. Like I was being really greedy.
Yeah.
And he took a step back with me and he was like, I think this would be beneficial to you, and sent me a video of Tony Robbins. And I was like, who the heck is this? Like, he's like this big old buff guy on stage, like jumping all around and all excited. Like, who is this person? So I decided to watch the video, and it was a seminar of his. And from the moment I sat down, like my eyes were just glued to the screen. I could like feel his energy just radiating off of me, like thousands of people, just eyeballs on the screen. Like, how does he capture that? Yes. So I was just watching the entire video, and it sparked this like personal development journey for me. So I watched his video, and then I stayed up until like 3 a.m. just searching all of his different videos and these personal developments and just feeling people. I was like, whoa, like this is like a whole new world. So next day, jumped on a call with my mentor, Len, and I just started blurting like all this information that I learned. And he's like, you got to share this with other people. Like you should start doing videos. I was like, Len, like I'm an introvert. Like I'm not going to jump on a live video. Like you're crazy, And he's like, no, just try it. Just try it. Like, I think you'll do good. So I pushed through it, decided just to do it, to try to get my business up off the ground, and did one video, got hooked on it, like addicted to it, and got a bunch of feedback. And I was like, holy crap, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So
Yeah.
it's kind of what started the journey for it.
Isn't it amazing? Even like myself starting up doing these podcasts, while I'll be converting them to them as time goes on. But the feeling that we get, on giving back to people.
Yes.
And, most of us, I don't think anyone's lived the perfect life, because if they have, they probably wouldn't have come to this earth to live a life if it was going to be perfect. Because believe me, I know it's perfect on the other side. Here is not. So, we all, part of my show is past traumas, and they all come on different levels. For yourself, and I want to thank you for coming on and sharing about the things you're going to share about, because truly it's going to connect with other people who are possibly in that same situation right now, and you're going to inspire them. Right. So if you want to start off, I guess, when you were young, I know we talked about the first thing was the overweight. If you want to talk about that in childhood, what it was like, the feelings, the emotions you went through, if you want to share about that.
Yeah, for sure. So, kind of like growing up, like you said, like I was kind of that overweight kid, right? And as a kid, you're not really taught how to like deal with your emotions. Like you start getting frustrated, you get bullied, things like that, and you start feeling sad and kind of negative towards yourself. You're not really taught how to deal with those. So growing up, being overweight and getting bullied, like I would come home and I didn't even want to tell my mom about it, just because I was scared as to what she was going to say. And I lived with my stepdad and his mom at the time. And she was very negative towards me. I mean, I wasn't her biological kid, so she treated me like I wasn't. Like I was just another kid that she didn't really care about. So when I would come home, I would go to get dinner and she's like, don't you think you've ate enough? Like it was just a bunch of negativity growing up. So growing up, I got bullied a lot. I was overweight. And then once middle school hit, like I was kind of trying to, I was just observing, right? And kind of observing like who I was. And I kind of started noticing that I was into women and that I was gay. And I was like, whoa, like I'm overweight now. Like things are frustrating at home because it doesn't feel like my family loves me at all. And now like, I think I like a different sex. Like,
and how old were you? How old were you around then?
13 years old. Yeah. So pretty young. And found that out. And I didn't really know how to tell my mom. So I didn't. And I kind of just stuck with my friends talking about that. And out of nowhere, I came home and my mom pulled me into the bedroom and she's like, I went into your MySpace account. And I was like, crap. So she found out that I was gay. And from that point on, like me and my mom, we didn't have a good relationship at all. Like she was the only person that I kind of had a good relationship with in the household. And that was just broke off from there. We didn't get along. We didn't talk. She kept me from having any friends over, any family, anything. Like I had to go to school, come home, be in my room, go to school, come home, be in my room. And that was the constant thing for about 3-4 years until I got into high school. So
okay, from like 13 until 16.
Exactly.
Ish, around there.
16, 17, yeah.
So, when you're a child, when you're young, how early back do you feel that you were when you were overweight, like going to school? What?
From the beginning, I was a big baby. I was 10 pounds just coming out as a baby, so I was a big baby from the beginning. I didn't really start noticing that I was bigger than other kids until about 3rd grade. Like that's when the bully started happening. So about, I think like 8-ish, I think that's what I was. Yeah.
So then how were you taking that on at such a young age, like with the things that you can remember?
Honestly, I was just depressed all the time. Like I didn't have any friends. I didn't talk to anyone. I was very introverted. That's kind of what caused me to be an introvert up until today. And I just stayed in my room and listened to music. Like that was kind of my coping mech, is just plugging headphones in or turning the music up really loud and just dancing in my room and trying to get some type of excitement out of such a horrible situation. So,
yeah. So you went through depression. How long were you going through depression then? From when you started at a young age like that with depression.
Yeah, I mean, I think I realized that it was depression about 5th grade-ish. From that point on until 20 years old-ish, 19, 20 years old. It's a long period of time.
And
we still deal with it on a daily basis, or not a daily basis. We still deal with it nowadays. It's just we're able to cope with them a little bit more.
So how did you start? Did you have, at a young age like that, were you contemplating suicide thoughts? Did you go through?
Yeah, so it was right after my mom found out that I was gay. Like that's when it kind of hit that I I just didn't want to be here. Like there was no reason for me to. I would wake up, I was angry and frustrated at myself. People hated me. I would come home, it was the same thing. So I had tried to, commit suicide at a young age. Like you're scared already. So I didn't go through with it. But I remember being in my room and we had these bunk beds, and I took a rope and hung it underneath one of the bunk beds, tied it around my neck. And then I jumped off the top of my bunk bed. I was only hanging there for maybe 5 seconds. It wasn't very long at all. And then the rope broke. And I just sat there and bawled my eyes out. My mom heard like a crash and like a bang. She came in the room. I was like, oh, I just fell off my bed. So my mom actually doesn't even know about that story still. But yeah, it was a hard time. So yeah, there was definitely suicide attempts. I used to cut myself quite a bit in middle school because that was like the only thing that made me feel, I guess. Like it was just always depressed, and that was a different feeling. Like I felt like I needed to hurt myself if people hated me so much. And so I hurt myself quite a bit growing up there. But it kind of stopped once I started getting friends, like towards the end of middle school-ish.
Yeah. So why do you figure it's, did you just feel wanted then?
Exactly.
Like what?
Yeah, because I think that's really all I needed. Is I just needed that comfort. I needed that compassion from other people that I was craving and I never got at home. So once I started getting friends around that I was able to hang out with, like at school and everything, they weren't calling me overweight. They cared about me. That was the thing. Like they truly were interested in me, and I was interested in them, and being able to make that connection, like that's what kind of set things aside. Like, okay, maybe everyone doesn't hate me. Maybe it's just a select few that do, and maybe I can change myself to kind of do, like make myself presentable to others. So
yeah. Which is amazing. That was a great thing to happen in your life, especially like, did it form into, I guess, a form of addiction, when you're cutting and whatnot?
Yeah, I would definitely say that it was kind of like a rush, and kind of you saying that, like I kind of had like an addiction once I hit high school, of trying to get this rush. But now saying that, I kind of had it in middle school as well. Like I just wanted to feel something. I wanted to feel something more than what I was feeling at that point because I didn't like the feeling. So cutting it sparked that in me, like, whoa, it was like a rush inside of me. Or when I was sneaking out, like I would sneak out of the house so I could go hang out with friends because I wasn't allowed to. Like that was a huge rush for me. So I did get addicted, and that kind of formed negative, like unproductive, like good habits. So
yeah, and that brings me back to my life as well, with depression, dealing with depression. It's like we start doing things outward for that rush. And I've spoke before, like even at a young age, going out and stealing for me, I didn't go because I needed something or whatever. I did it for the rush, to get away from the certain feelings that, we don't want to feel. We want to feel something else, and we just need that break away from the depression. And that, for you as well, that's what did it for you. As you got into, when you're 15, 16, making these new friends, did you still start forming other addictions as well in an unhealthy way?
Yeah. So at about 15, 16, my mom, she was actually off on drugs for a while. And she had, someone that she used to get into drugs with and actually used to beat her, ended up getting out of prison. And she ended up being in contact with them, and went up to Boise. It was about a 2-hour drive from where we were, and ended up staying there, and just left me and my 2 sisters and my 2 cousins that we adopt. So 5 of us kids with my stepdad and stepmom. And she just left. She was just gone. So during that period of time, like I finally had a little bit of freedom. But I was still depressed. Like my mom just left me. Like obviously she doesn't love me either, kind of thing. So I started venturing out with different friends into different drugs. So I started getting into pills. Like that was my biggest thing. I didn't want to do like cocaine or heroin or anything like that because my mom was addicted to hard things, right? Yeah, but I got into pills really bad just because it was an excitement thing. It was something new. So yeah, I got really addicted to pills for a while. I was overdosing quite a bit. Even at school, I was drinking like 24/7. I was always high on something or drinking in school. And there was one moment where we were in the bathroom and we were doing air duster, and I sucked in like a huge hit and I just passed out. And like right at that moment, it was like, boom, my head hit the brick wall and I was gone for like 5 minutes. Like I was just passed out. So from that point on, like I kind of stopped doing like drugs and things like that and kind of took a break from that, until I met my friend Christy. And that's when I started getting more into drugs, and kind of a downward spiral for that again. So
Okay. So what made you, when you got to the final point, of doing all of that, and
Mhm.
what was your transition for that to get out of that?
So my friend Christy had came over, and we had stolen an old container of my mom's diet pills, and we
Mm.
were only supposed to take like half of one, but I ended up taking like 6 or 7. And the diet pills, what they did is they made you feel awake. Like they gave you a bunch of energy and you weren't hungry. So for 3 days straight, we didn't eat a single thing. We were
Hmm.
awake the entire time, like we couldn't sleep. So we started hallucinating. And I remember walking into
Mm.
the door, and I seen, there was a couple things that I seen. I was hallucinating, and I seen like my grandpa's hat sitting on the couch, and I thought it was him, and he's deaf. So I was like signing to him, having this entire conversation back and forth. My friend Christy walks in. She's like, "Who are you talking to?" I was like, "My grandpa." And then he looked back and he was gone. Like there was no one there. I was like, "Whoa, what the heck?" So I
Yeah.
went into the bathroom, and then I seen this bloody kid standing behind me in the mirror. And at that moment, I was like, "Whoa, like I don't want this to happen ever again." And the next day, like I stopped doing drugs. I stopped hanging out with as many bad people. And I never
Yeah.
went back to it after that. So
Wow.
yeah, it was
It
quite the
takes
moment.
yeah, and you know what? We all have our different uh, place for where we transition, to turn our life around in whatever way, and we all have our own experiences. Um, so, overcoming the depression part, it just doesn't go away. Just, when we stop doing all the things that we don't want to feel those emotions anymore, there has to be a point where we need to face them
Right.
so that we can move past them, because if not, we're not going to heal and we're going to struggle the rest of our lives. So for you to not have the cutting or the drugs, putting things into your body, what did you do throughout life in that transition of the whole time to overcome, or at
Um,
least learn
I
how to deal with it, I should say?
Right. So I started shifting like the amount of energy and focus that I was putting into drugs and hanging out with all these bad people. And I started shifting it into working. And I would get into really big relationships. Like I would put everything, like all of me, into things. So I started working at a job, getting my first couple jobs, and just moved my way up. Like I would put 12, 14-hour days in, like 7 days a week, just trying to put my focus onto something else. Otherwise, I would get depressed and want to hurt myself. So I'd work for 12-hour days, and then I would get into relationships. And as soon as someone was showing me attention, I just thought that they loved me, right? Because I didn't have that growing
Yeah.
up. So I got into really, really bad relationships. But I would just put my all into it, and they would take advantage of me. So I would let them not work. I would work double time so they wouldn't have to, and they would pretty much just spend all my money 24/7. And I actually kind of went in that vicious cycle for 4 more years until I met my wife. So my outlet during that period of time to kind of like deal with it, even though it wasn't a good time, was just putting my all into like work and love. That was pretty much it.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people do, actually, still, workaholic. They become a workaholic. And it's just another, I don't know if I want to use the term addiction. It's another scapegoat in a way, I guess, to still not feel those feelings and emotions. So you said when you met your wife, things then shifted for you in a good way. So how did that help you then?
So my wife was like one of the first people that showed me like true 100% love, compassion, and faith. Like first person that I really came across, because none of my family members, none of the friends that I interacted with were anything like her. So we met online. We ended up going out on a date, and after our date, like we were in the hotel room that she was staying in for like 6 months, and we just talked all night about things that I had never even thought about, like where do you see yourself headed in life? Like, what do you want to be doing? Like, what type of values like do you have for yourself, and where do you want it for your kids in the future, and all of these things. So it was kind of like at that moment that I started seeing the world differently. Like I wasn't caring about the partying or getting the material things or the money or trying to please people or anything like that. Like it was a shift from focusing on everyone else to being able to shift to focusing within me and like my own worth and my own self. So I think that's kind of what changed it all for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then going back a bit as well, with coming out and coming out that you were gay, and when did you come out with that for people to know at school?
Actually, it was pretty young. It was about 8th grade. 7th, 8th grade. Yeah, 8th grade is when I kind of just came out, and I didn't really care what people thought, because people hated me anyway, so I didn't really care, right? So I had met one of my very first girlfriends, Tiffany, at the time, and after that, she was like, well, I'm very open with everything. Like, I'm not trying to hide anything. I was like, okay, like, I don't care. Like, let's be open. Like, I don't really care what people think about me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't really a big open, like, hey guys, like, I'm gay,
Yeah.
you know? It was kind of just very subtle, like, hey, I'm gay. If you hate me, oh well, you already hated me anyway. So.
And that's really cool, you know, to have that outlook. And that's how it should be, because you know what? People are either going to like you or not like you, regardless, anyways, no matter what you do in life.
Right.
People are always going to judge. You cannot get away from judgment.
Right.
You know, here we are doing good things, trying to help people, and we get judged. So
Right.
there's no winning, right?
Yep.
There's no winning. But it must have been, I can't imagine the feelings beforehand, you know, when you're at that spot and just being like, you know, F it. I'm just going to be me and let people, you know, whatever they think. Like, what was the process of thoughts going through you?
You know, during that time, like, I didn't really care too much about what other people were saying, like, because people were bullies, right? Like, they were calling me gay and disgusting, and that I was a disgrace and all this crazy stuff. But I didn't really care about any of that. It was more of when my church and my parents, like, when they were the ones that told me I was a disgrace. I remember going into church, and I had just gotten baptized like a week before. Like, I was very, very dedicated, like, very faithful. I was putting my all into everything at that point. And I remember coming into church, and my pastor and the youth leader at the time pulled me into their office, and they, I guess, went throughout my entire Facebook and like went through every single little detail. And there was a little tiny section that talked about me being gay. Like, I didn't flaunt it or anything, but they dug through my Facebook to find it. And they just started beating Bible scriptures into me, saying that I was a disgrace and that I was going to go to hell and all this stuff. And so I ran out of that room. I left the church, and I walked 2-3 miles home at that point. And I said that I wasn't going to go back, but I ended up going back the next day anyways. So I went back, trying to see, like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe I need to change myself, kind of thing. And then the next day, like, I had a bunch of people telling me that I shouldn't be coming to the church because the parents were getting worried, because the youth leader went around telling everyone that I was only there to sleep with their daughters. And I think that's where it hit the hardest for me, was I was putting my everything into that church. Like, I was so dedicated. I was there at every single event. I was there 6 days a week, right? But they didn't want me, even though I was giving my all. Like, I think that's what really hit me the hardest. Like, holy crap, maybe I really don't belong in the world. So I started getting more depressed at that point. But like I said, instead of putting my depression into like cutting and trying to kill myself and stuff, I just put it into like loving people. So I would get into a bad relationship right after.
Yeah. So. And that's unfortunate, you know, that there are people out there who don't understand.
It is.
It's just because they don't have the knowledge to know more. If they did, they wouldn't be saying and doing the things that they did.
Amen.
So because you started coming out around 13, the bullying and things you had to put up with, you know, this is important for people to know as well, for people who are just coming out about who they truly are. You know, what are some of the things you went through from bullies that you had to go through just because of you liking the same sex?
I think, trying to think of like exact moments, because I blocked a lot of those like bad times out. One of the biggest ones, I was walking home, and there was this group of girls, and they like came up to me, and they were asking like, hey, are you Daysha? I was like, yeah. And they're like, are you the one dating Tiffany? I was like, yeah. And they were like, wow, like, you are a disgusting being. And I was like, what? Like, I don't even know you. Like, who are you? And they're like, don't worry about it, and just walked off. So I was like, okay, like, just started walking off. Well, they came back around, and I had a backpack on, and they tore my backpack off. And I don't know why. And I don't remember why I know this exact moment, but they tore open my backpack and just dumped everything out. Like, all my food, all of my everything just dumped out. Like, it was just a really bad moment. So at that point, like, I did feel bad about myself, but like I said, during those times, like, I didn't really care about the bullies as much, because my home life was worse. Like, I had worse things going on at home. So for people, if you are going through that type of situation, the things that I would say is, you know, that pain isn't going to last forever. Like, yes, it's hard, right? It's harsh, and those people shouldn't be doing those things to you. I don't agree with it at all. But right? That's the type of person that they're going to become. Like their life is probably not going to be super, super amazing all growing up, like in the future, because of the type of person that they are, the type of being that they are, the type of things that they're doing to other people. So yes, it's rough. And I'm sorry that you're going through that, but keep pushing on, right? There are going to be people that love you. There are going to be people that you interact with that care about you. Yes. Not every single person is going to be like that. So just keep pushing on, like pick up your things, push on, try to find people that have the same type of values, and eventually you'll figure out who you are and what you want to do.
Yes. So. Yeah. That was awesome. It's true. There comes the 50-year-old woman here now with her wisdom, because it's true. It's absolutely true. And what about when you're overcoming the overweight challenge you had being younger? How did you overcome to be where you're at today?
Well, in high school is when I kind of started like changing like my eating habits and things like that. Like it wasn't that everyone else was telling me that I was overweight, because I already knew, right? Like I already knew I was a fat kid. Like I didn't really care, right? But it wasn't them. It was more of me. Like I wanted to look better. Like I wanted to feel better. Like I couldn't walk up the stairs, like going up the stairs at high school and middle school without like having to catch my breath again. And I hated that feeling. So if you're overweight right now and you're wanting to change that, don't focus about trying to please other people. Like don't do it for other people. Like just do it for yourself. Like find the reason that you want to do it. Is it because you want to have more energy? Because that was my thing. Like I just wanted to have more energy. So I started changing the way that I eat, and I started going for a run every single morning in 9th grade. Like every single morning I was doing it because I wanted to feel better. I wanted to be able to walk up the stairs and get at the top and feel accomplished instead of feeling like I was dragging throughout the day. So yeah, that's kind of just how I did it, was just figuring out the reason I wanted to, and then just creating a formula on how to actually get there. So
yeah, and then it's also finding that drive, the motivation to push you,
right,
to do it daily, to keep up with it daily.
And it's really just keeping that thought in mind. Like that was my vision. Like I want to go up the stairs and feel excited when I get up there instead of sad, and I want to get in the weights program and actually be able to do it instead of not being able to. So it was just keeping that thought in mind. This is what I want. This is what I want. Is running hard? Yes, it is, but it's going to get me to what I want. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. And you've kept up with it.
Yeah, a little bit. I've lost about 80 pounds. Actually,
nice.
I got overweight actually right after high school, because I got in a relationship, was working at a fast food joint. So I got up to about 240 pounds.
Oh, wow. And how tall are you?
5'6".
Okay.
Yeah. So 240 pounds. I was a big girl. But I did the same process. Like I got really depressed and figured, okay, like I want to look and feel better. And so I started working out daily and changed my eating habits again, and just did the same process again.
Awesome. And look at you now.
Yes. Just got to keep up with it.
They just got to, I know. You don't need to tell me about that. You mentioned, what was it? Shoot. The Dream Finder. Was it Dream Finder? Or Vision Finder?
Vision Finder, yes.
Yes, if you want to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so about a year and a half ago, I got into this mentoring program where I learned from like millionaires on like their process on how they got from where they were to making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And what I found was inside of that program, the biggest thing that they focus on is helping people find their vision. Like what do they need to do to like bring that out of them? So since a year and a half ago, now what I do is I jump on a phone call with people, and if they're struggling to figure out what it is that they want in life, we'll spend 30 minutes to an hour just digging deep like into their personal lives to figure out, okay, this is what you want to do. Like, it's not that you want to do this, 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 and this, and this. It's that you have this one big goal that you want to do. And now, since we have this goal, we can formulate up a plan to bridge you from where you are now to where you want to be. So the Vision Finder is really just bringing out your vision instead of feeling confused and lost.
Tony Robbins, I feel like I'm talking to here. Huh?
That's what I'm hoping. Like, that's what I want to be. I want to be the girl version of Tony Robbins.
And
with a little bit of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, it's funny because when I start getting into life coaching, people are like, oh, you're going to be Mr. Tony Robbins now. I'm like, who the hell's that? I don't know who that is. So like, you're doing life coaching and you don't know who that is. So obviously I had to look. And then I would see his feed going and I'm like, oh, this guy's annoying me with his feeds. And then I actually watched on Netflix about him on who he was. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm like, this man, I feel like I'm this man with the same passion drive, same as what you're speaking about, we have all, it's life coaching where we are today moving forward, which is an awesome feeling. I absolutely love helping changing people's lives to live better. And it's because we have lived through those dark times in life and we have overcome them. And now it's giving back. And that's what we're doing,
Exactly.
And that's what but how long have you been doing the daily dose, another daily dose, Daysha?
3 years.
Oh, wow. You've been doing it for 3 years now.
So it's only been called Daily Dose for about 1.5 years.
Since you've been doing it daily?
Yeah. But I did live videos daily before. It's just the name changed about 1.5 years ago. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely love it. I was going to read off or click on here. Cassie says, you're a very brave girl for sharing your struggles and what you've been what you've been through. Thank you. And then Scott Baker's over in Scotland. I actually had him on last week. Another amazing soul. Just like everyone I love everyone I bring on because we're all about helping and inspiring and helping other people live a great life.
Because we don't want other people to struggle.
Yeah. And the true value is so high for the value of sharing your life story, sharing the pain and suffering, the emotions and feelings that people don't want to talk about, to put that out and to share so you can connect, and people that have watched this podcast now or listen to it, who are struggling with weight or even coming out that they are gay, having, going through those struggles, because I can't imagine those struggles to be going through. So, and yeah, always be yourself. It's okay not to be okay. That's what he says all the time. And that's awesome. It is true. And then love hearing your story. Thank you, Scott.
Appreciate that, Scott. Thank you.
Yeah. So before we go, is there 2 tips? I guess one for, you already gave a couple as we were talking, but 2 tips to help people who are struggling, I guess one in each area with the overweight, if they're going through that now. And then another one, a tip to help people with coming out that they're gay. So
for both, actually, I'm going to give this tip for both of them. Okay. It's not going to be easy, right? That's the biggest thing that I would say. It's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be an easy process coming out. It's not going to be an easy process with losing weight, right? It's going to be difficult. But the good thing is that it's going to be worth it, right? So the biggest thing I would say is keep the vision of what you're wanting to happen in mind. So if you're wanting to come out, great. Now you can actually go out in the world and be yourself and not have to hide it anymore. If you want to be less overweight, right? If you want to be a little bit skinnier, more fit or whatever, keep the vision in mind of how you're going to feel. Like, how is it going to feel when you don't have to be overweight, when you can go for a run with your friends or go play with the kids or the dogs or whatever and not feel drained from it. So that's the first tip. Is it's not going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. So just keep the vision in mind. And the second thing that I would say is don't care so much about what other people think. Like, don't do it for other people. Do it for yourself, right? Because if you're just doing it for other people, you're not going to feel like it's worth it. You're just going to end up giving up and being like, people hate me anyway, so it's fine. And just give up. So don't do it for them. Do it for yourself because it's what you want to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on today.
Anytime. I loved it.
Like I said, watching you for such a long time, and you always put a big smile on my face. And then to have this one-on-one, session together, I'm truly grateful for.
Me too. Thank you.
Is there anything that pops up in your mind for a daily dose from you to share of a little Timbit?
What do you mean by like the
just
information?
Any information that randomly comes to you right now to give for advice?
No, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just find your vision. That's what I focus on my daily doses, just in different types of ways, is just get very, very clear on what it is that you want. Because if you're not clear on what you want, then you don't have a clear path. And if you don't have a clear path, you're going to stay exactly where you are right now. You don't want that to happen. So just get very clear.
And we want a vision finder. So we know who to look for, a vision finder.
Right. You need your vision found. Come to me. I want to hook you up. Let's do this.
Yes. And then for people watching, you can see on her personal Facebook page that you can add or follow at least. And she does her daily dose with Daysha. So you can catch her there on her page.
Come check it out.
Come check it out. It is worth watching. That is for sure. I'll tell you that right now, no matter what age you are.
Yes.
So thanks again for coming on. And please share this podcast, as it may save a life of someone you know, and all just by a click of a button. If you have a success story of past trauma in your life, then please hit me up and come on my show to give back and helping others who may be suffering like you did, to know they're not alone. Next week, I'm super excited to have on another lady, Juliette Romeo, and she's going to be sharing about her past life challenges as well. Until next weekend, have a fantastic week, and bye for now.
Bye now, guys. Have a good day.